Welcome to the Power of Design podcast, where we have inspiring conversations that explore the intersection of architecture, construction, and real estate, so we can understand the dynamics and trends that shape an exciting and powerful built environment. This is your host, Jack Osa. In today's episode of the Power of Design podcast, we are talking to Frank Wiseman. Frank is a global account executive for Tarkett, a 100-year-old multinational corporation specializing in the production of floor and wall coverings. Frank is a master at building long-lasting and strong business relationships. During our conversation, we talk about personal development, sales, and how to grow and nurture a solid and friendly business community to make each other successful. Every time I talk to Frank, I learn something new and take away a dose of positivity and excitement. This is my conversation with Frank Wiseman. Frank, welcome to the Power of Design podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Jack. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Frank, you have an incredible career building long-term quality relationships in the design and construction and commercial real estate industry. Where does your drive and motivation comes from?
That's a great question. And if you would have asked me 5 years ago, I probably would have told you something a little different. But I think when I started, my drive came from my competitive nature, being number one at what I was doing, and money. And so I journal a lot, so I set very specific goals on what I wanted to do at certain ages, and I've hit those. But as I've gotten older, I think that motivation has changed. I feel more satisfaction by training people to do what I do and watching them succeed. And then my family life. You know, I'm married with 2 kids now, so that's probably my main motivator, is making sure I got food on the table for my family.
That's right. Talk to me about the competitive nature. And I'm asking because I'm always intrigued by people say that, I'm very competitive and I'm the type of person that I don't feel that I am competitive. And sometimes I think to myself, "Wait, should I be competitive?"
Yeah.
Where do why do you think you're that way? And what does that mean when you're, out in the world?
Competitive to me is, I think it stems from being little, being a middle child, my brother being older. My brother is very intelligent, very successful, CEO of company. And I always felt like I had to compete with him. So that was, and just get attention, right?
Sure.
So I think that stemmed from that to into my career going, all right, how am I going to stand out? And how am I going to make the people that hired me feel like they made the right decision.
Right.
Like I feel like I own a debt of gratitude for somebody that pays me a check.
Sure.
So that's what drives me every day. I feel like I can't let them down.
Yeah, and I think the biggest challenge is, as you said, having a family and having children when these little humans, these lives depend on me and they're looking at me every single day. So, the best way to give back to them is achieving more, getting to a different place in your life so they can see that behavior model in you.
Yeah, and make them proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frank, where did you grow up?
I grew up right out of Youngstown, Ohio, in a small town called Brookfield, till I was about 11. My dad was in the steel business, so he worked for Sharon Steel. And then we moved to Pittsburgh as that industry kind of went downhill. And we moved there when I was 11. So I graduated high school in Western Pennsylvania, right outside of Pittsburgh.
And how was that experience in high school for you?
It was weird because when I tell people about it, they actually are shocked because I was very shy and very awkward in high school. And I'm very outgoing and, known for networking in Charlotte and how I built my business. So that transformation from the shy, awkward kid to this was quite a journey. So it's you look back at pictures, and my wife threw my 40th birthday party, and she put pictures of me up with a mullet, and I heard you were a drummer in a rock band. I wanted to be that, so that's where I was going at that time.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you're that awkward boy in high school.
Yeah.
Tell me about that transition to, the next phase of your life.
Well, I went to the University of Pittsburgh, and actually, this is where we have a little similar background. I went to be a chemical engineer, and I think you went to be an industrial engineer at one
Yeah.
time. And I did well. I got through all the tough courses like math and physics and all that. But as I was getting into the major part of it, I realized I didn't want to do this
Wow.
the rest of my life. So, and I was paying my own way through college. So I was bartending. I was waiting tables first, and then I started bartending, which that kind of brought me out of my shell a little bit. But then I need more money to pay my way through Ohio State because I transferred from Pittsburgh to Ohio State. And I started selling windows and siding door to door, which that was the hardest job I've ever had in my life. That was one of those things where they made you go knock on door to door, and you had to close the deal while you were there.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, you had to call your boss and tell him why you sucked at what you did.
Wow.
and he would yell at you, and then you'd have to close the deal. But yeah, I've had my suitcase or my briefcase thrown out the doors. I've been thrown out of houses because he just did tell us to go back to the table and try to close the deal.
Wow, that's amazing.
Horrible selling process.
No, but I think, if you want to teach somebody how to sell, that's the best training.
100%. I mean, it took me 3 months to close a deal of every day going out and selling. 3 months of no, 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 no.
Right.
And I remember I stayed till 1 a.m. I was at this small little house in the middle of nowhere. Stayed till 1 a.m. The guy actually cooked me dinner by the time I left.
Oh, wow.
And he bought it. And I tell you what, it was better than any drug, any drink, anything that you could ever do. That feeling. And when I got that bug, I couldn't get rid of it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's one of those things that there is no education who can teach that. You cannot pay to learn how to do that. There is no book to learn it. No course, no university. It's just through the, bare practice of doing it and enduring those situations. I think those 3 months were, I would think that most of what you're achieving even today are because of those 3 months.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. I teach the sales course at Tarkett and actually help write the training manual for us, our global selling process. And I could tell everybody where the water is and how to drink it.
Yeah.
But until you dive in and get told no and get slapped in the face and feel how humble sales really can make you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you'll ever get it.
Yeah, I felt like that when I started my own business because, I used to work as an architect for other firms. So I didn't really have to sell. You know, you just go collect your paycheck and you're fine. And you could sell if you want, but there is no pressure. But when you have to sell, there is no other option to make the money, to make the income. You really put yourself in a situation where there is no other option.
Yeah.
You have to do it. And since I started selling, I became fascinated by sales. Like, I love sales now.
It's cool.
And everything related to sales. And starting with the point that when you see that, you understand people. I think in order, when you have to sell something, you have to believe in what you're selling. That's number one. And we all get sold by other people trying to sell services or products, and they don't believe in it, and you see it immediately. You're like, man, you don't even believe this. I cannot buy it. And to me, one of the biggest realizations is even more than selling a product or service that you believe in it, you need to believe in yourself, and you're selling yourself because people are buying the interaction you're having with you. And most of the sales problems, I think, are when people haven't made the biggest sell is when they sell themselves to themselves, right? I have the confidence. I'm gonna do it. I know what I have what it takes, and I'm gonna go through it, and that creates confidence.
Yeah, I agree.
And people love buying from confident people.
Yeah, you don't want to buy a parachute from somebody that looks a little shaky and didn't know how to pack it, right?
Yeah.
You want to get somebody that knows what they're doing, and I think that it comes through in confidence.
Sure. And the other thing is, typically sales, when you're not in the sales world, sales is uncomfortable, right? People are scared of sale, and I've been there. And we I think part of that is because we think we are giving something that they may not really want or need. When you when you understand that you're helping somebody, you genuinely believe that what you're giving them is gonna make their life or their business better, you do it. It's good news. It's like if you win the lottery, you're gonna go tell your family and you're gonna help people because it's good news. Same with sales. When you sell is quality and you know it, you want to tell everyone because it's in their best interest to have it.
I tell our young sales reps that all the time. I'm like, they're like, well, I don't want to bother these people. And I was like, these people have a job to do. And think about it this way. I just put a pool in. All right. And when I was putting that pool in, I had no idea who to call.
Yeah.
I would have loved if pool people would have been calling me going, hey, can I come out and talk to you?
Sure.
Or I had a Rolodex of people that have called me in the past, but
Yeah.
I didn't. I had to Google everything. I had to go to my buddies and ask them what was up. And I was lost. So think if you're a facility, I sell flooring for a living,
Yeah.
for Tarkett. Think if you're a facility guy and you need flooring and nobody's ever called on you,
Yeah.
you're just screwed.
Sure.
Like, or you're going to spend a whole day like researching flooring companies.
Yeah.
And then you're going to find a residential one and you're in a commercial world.
Yeah.
Because that's the first one that's going to pop up is ABC Carpet Barn or whatever, So I try to tell our reps, you are a value. And when your point is when you get through the door is to show how much of a value you can be. And once that person sees you as not a salesperson, but sees you as Jack,
Yes.
that's what I always say. Once they see me as Frank,
Yeah.
then we can have a relationship.
That's right.
But you got to earn that.
Right. And
know?
people don't have relationships with companies. They have relationships with people.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard one time a definition of sales that says selling is getting someone intellectually engaged in a future result that is good for them.
Yeah.
And getting them to emotionally commit to take action to achieve that result.
Yeah.
So intellectually, they need to understand the transaction. Okay, I'm going to pay this money and I'm going to get this. Okay, that sounds good. But the key is emotionally commit to take action. That means the buying decision is 100% emotional. And that's with that relationship, that bond activates that purchase. When you have something that you have bought before, you said, oh man, I love this watch. I love my car. It's emotional. We're like, man, I love it.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes to the point where we pay, way above market price for luxury items because we love them.
100%.
Money becomes irrelevant.
Or like, I tell you what, I've gone and I'm a big car guy.
Yeah.
And anybody that knows me knows that. So I have gone to a car lot knowing exactly what I wanted, knowing everything about it. And the salesperson was so bad, didn't know anything about the product, or I felt like I was wasting his time.
Yeah.
That I actually didn't buy the product I wanted. And how bad is that somebody could be
you had
that
already
bad?
pre-purchased.
They had me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a cheap purchase. So I was like, how bad are you at your job that you go to every day that you had a lay down and you just you couldn't take that shot?
Yes.
And that's what drives me to, you asked me what drives me, is to drive people that want to be in sales.
Yeah.
And that want to be in front of people and want to make great money and have a career for their family. But how do you do that? And how do you do it well?
Yeah.
And that's the art form. And I think selling is an art.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's for sure. So you graduate from chemical engineer, you engineering.
Actually, I changed.
Yeah, you changed.
Yeah.
Then you started selling. How was your growth in that sales industry?
It was interesting because I was actually making more money bartending than I was what they were offering out of college. So that was Shaw Industries came to campus with a bunch of other companies. Ohio State had a great recruiting program. So out of the 14 offers I had, Shaw was the one. And my brother was in the resins plastics business, so they knew a Shaw. So
yeah,
I went to work for Shaw. I went to their carpet college for a year and worked in the plants and learned how to make flooring. And
wow.
So, and when I say I understand flooring, I've done everything from make a carpet tile to pack a truck to everything. So I know start to finish on how it's done. And then I had a good career there in Florida. And then I met Bill Guandola, who was a guest on one of your shows. And he was starting a new division with this company called Collins & Aikman.
Yeah. When was that?
2003.
Okay.
And he goes, I hear you're moving to Charlotte, because I was dating this girl at this time, and he goes, we're starting this new thing. Would you think about coming over? And I knew Bill, and Bill was my biggest competitor, and Bill was just the most fun. And I said, yeah, let's go over to City Tavern, have a drink.
Yeah.
And I think about 10 drinks later, we were sitting there. He goes, so you want to come work for me? I was like, hell yeah, let's do this. Let's try to start this thing.
Wow.
And we built it to one of the top regions, the top region in all the company in this
Wow.
small city. So
That's amazing.
well, it used to be small.
Yeah.
It's getting bigger.
Yeah. So tell me about that role. So you
Yeah.
get started. I guess you didn't know a lot of people.
Didn't know anybody.
You know, you have to sell carpet. Then how do you do that? How do you start?
Well, I knew a little bit out on the process, like, and I wasn't calling on architects and designers, which a lot of car flooring people do. I was calling directly on the end user. I was going straight to the people that write the check.
Yeah.
And that was scary. I remember sitting there going, I have no book of business. We have $0 coming in. And I got all these big corporations. And you can't go up to a Bank of America, knock on the front door and say,
Yeah.
hey, who buys carpet for you guys?
Yeah.
National or globally?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I don't know. So it was putting all that together. Plus, I was going to get my master's degree at Wake Forest at the time. So I got to know a lot of people that way. And it was a great learning experience because I opened a book of lists from the Charlotte Business Journal. It showed every company in town. And I sat there with my phone and I would cold call. I would make 100 cold calls a day. My friend Trip Ewan, who you know really well, works for Trip Commercial here in town.
Mm-hmm.
He is probably the best cold caller I've ever met. And I used to ask him, how are you so good? And he's like, cold calling to me is an appointment on my calendar I never break. If I'm cold calling from 1 to 3, I cold call from 1 to 3. And he goes, I'll call 100 people and I'll get 2 appointments.
Yep.
2% close rate. So you got to figure out, that's why there's only a handful of great salespeople out there.
Oh, I know.
Nobody will go through that.
You know, when I'm scared of cold calling, and when somebody cold calls me,
Yeah.
I give them my time because I really respect a person who can do that, and I think they deserve my attention because it's very hard.
It's very hard, but I love people that are great at it. There's a great book that's called 101 Cold Calling Techniques that Work.
Oh, good one.
One of my favorite books. And it just cuts to the chase. It says you got 15 seconds to say who you are, what you do, and why you want to come in to see that person before that person loses interest. And it might even be 6 seconds. I think you'll be able to hold attention span for 6.
Probably.
Without the people hanging up on you. But when you get really good at it and you get this cadence to it, then you become people where, you understand that no's not an option.
Sure.
But come very direct on what you want to do. I want to come by, see you Wednesday at 2 p.m. and I want to talk about this bullet, this bullet, this bullet. That's concise. And they go, either say yes or no.
Sure.
But another great book I read is How to Be a Rainmaker by Jeffrey Fox.
Yeah.
My favorite line in that, and it's up on my wall, and I tell every rep, if somebody takes an appointment with you, they want to buy something. It's your job to tell them why.
Wow.
Because nobody wants to waste their time.
Sure.
So if they accept an appointment, they have an interest.
Yeah.
It's just if you leave without that order, you didn't give them a reason why you were the best solution.
Oh, sure. So why do you think we are so scared of cold calling? Is it because we all fear rejection?
Oh yeah, rejection's never good.
It hurts.
Until you make it a game. I think it took me a while to get that thick skin where somebody told me no, and I was like, oh, the game's begun, right? It's a chess game now. We're playing this. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So the first no is just, and I actually had a customer tell me one time, he turned me down 6 times. On the 7th, he took my meeting, and he goes, most of the people never call me back after the first one. He goes, I usually wait 6 until somebody's thick-skinned enough to make it here.
Wow.
And he goes, now you're in the door.
Yeah. I think as a salesperson, the best thing you can hear is a no.
Yeah.
Because now you start strategizing about why you can provide options.
Yeah.
You can follow up.
Yeah. And then look for great rebuttals. It's somebody who goes, well, I'm already using Interface carpeting. Thanks for calling. Well, Interface is a great product. And I don't want to compete against them, but I have products that complement that, and I want to be in the bullpen. What happens is Interface's plant burns down,
Sure.
which Milliken's plant did burn down
Yeah.
years ago, and they needed customers needed backups.
Yeah.
So I don't need to be in first place, but if you give me the top 3, I'm pretty happy there
Oh yeah, that's
because
right.
you'll get your shot eventually.
Sure. How did you deal with wanting to maybe sell or progress faster? Because that's something that sometimes I struggle with. You know, I get anxious. I mean, man, I should be selling more. I should be, growing faster my business. How do you deal with that?
Well, I guess it comes down to what really got to define what success means to you. Does it mean having the most clients, or is it defined as being the most profitable?
Yeah.
I'd rather have fewer clients and be profitable than a ton of clients and a very low margin
Sure.
and that don't appreciate you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of clients that just look at you as a number, and that's fine. I have those. But the clients that I love dealing with are the ones that look at me as a partner, that we sit on the same side of the table. And those partners, we find more cost saves for. We get things out quicker because they're friends. They're like, I'm not going to let my friend down.
That's right.
Right? I'm going to run through a wall for my friend.
Yeah.
The person that calls and yells at me every day, I'm still going to do whatever I can for them because
Right.
I want their business. It's just not as much fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're starting to make those calls, have those first appointments. When do you think was the time when you say, well, okay, I think I'm starting to gain traction here?
I'm in all my sales training, I set short-term goals because trying to eat the elephant whole is impossible. Pick out the foot. All right. So I really, and I'm a data guy. So I quantified everything in that book list. I quantified each one of those companies. If I got their business, what it meant to my sales.
Yeah.
And then what those sales meant to my income. And then I kind of weeded out the ones that weren't going to make it there. And I focused on the big ones. And then I got a call. All right. They gave me an entry mat order, a $150 order. Those were bigger to me than like winning a full floor. Like a entry mat order for Bank of America was like, I was doing jumping jacks and cartwheels. I was like, oh my God, they bought something from me.
Yes.
And this goes, all right, now I'm going to make this carpet entry or this carpet mat order the best experience they ever had.
Sure.
So they remember me.
Yeah.
And that was what drove me, was the experience and the journey.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get to the top and just trying to maintain is when I think the stress really kicks in.
Yeah.
When you stop growing. They say, when you stop growing, you die.
Yeah.
So that's always my biggest fear.
Right. So during that whole growth process in your sales career, have you always been on your own, like with yourself, or do you have a team? Interacting with other people, learning, sharing. How does that dynamic work?
I was very lucky. I had 2 really great mentors. I mean, the best mentor and probably the best salesperson I've ever seen is Bill Gondolo. Who's my boss.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen anybody in a room turn a room, and with his charisma and his knowledge, it's just remarkable. So I got to learn from him, and he was my teammate. So I got to call him, and he leads by being a teammate. He doesn't lead by being a boss. So he's like, all right, how are we going to do this? What do you want to do? And he gives you a lot of autonomy to learn. And we were a brand new company, right? So we're trying to build this. So I didn't have a lot of rules. So I'd go in and say, yeah, we can do that. And I'd come back and tell the company, hey, we need to figure out how we're going to do this. So it was that we were a speedboat when other companies were a cruise ship. So we were able to turn, we were able to be very customer centric. And it was a lot of fun. So yeah, I had a team around me and great mentors.
And I guess you have 2 customers, your external customers, and Tarkett is your customer as well.
Yeah.
So how's that relationship with the mothership?
That relationship's really, I work for a great company. I mean, we're the only flooring company I know that didn't lay anybody off through the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Our salespeople said, hey, keep our bonuses. Hey, we're not going to do these incentives. We want to keep people working, which I think that says a lot about the true testament of a company and how they care about their people. And then, I look at that. My biggest thing is I look at the mothership as I'm the lifeline of that. And if
Yeah.
I can't keep the sales coming in, then people lose their jobs.
Yeah.
And that's scary to me.
Tell me about your role today. Well, what are your responsibilities? How do you structure your day?
Well, my responsibilities are three-pronged. So I'm our global account executive. So I handle our Fortune 500 contracts, master service agreements. So Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, Apple, things of that nature. That's my day-to-day job, making sure those customers are happy and they don't ever think about flooring.
Yeah.
I always tell them, if you know my cell phone number by heart, then I'm not doing my job.
Yeah.
So that's my number one job. My number two job is I work a lot with HR. I do a lot of our training for our salespeople, our onboarding. We just developed this thing called solution selling that I was a big part of, that really gives people a program on setting expectations for themselves, because it's very easy to get lost
Yeah.
in doing what we do.
Sure.
And then my third approach is handling a very major contract with CB Richard Ellis for us. So I handle that globally for us. So
Wow.
yeah, they keep me busy.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel that you're challenged by the company?
I do. I feel like they allow me to grow. They ask me every year, what do you want to do? And when I came to them, I said, look, I want to do sales training, but I don't want to stop selling. I don't want to go into management.
Yeah.
I'm a salesperson. I
Yeah.
know what my passion is, and that's being with customers. Being with you sitting here is what drives me.
Sure.
I love being around people
Yeah.
and learning about them. But when I said, hey, I want to do training, they're like, hey, can you do both? I mean, here, you'll be our keynote speaker at our next sales meeting. And then, here, we'll make you part of the equity and diversity and inclusion program. Now you'll be our key member there, and you'll help do that training.
Yeah.
And so the company embraces your growth.
Sure.
And I've been at companies that don't.
Oh, sure.
So it's Tarkett's been really, really great for me.
That's really good.
We'll be right back with more from the Power of Design podcast.
The Power of Design podcast is brought to you by OSA Studio, a multidisciplinary design firm focused on creating impactful experiences through the power of design. We partner with our clients to create buildings, interior spaces, brands, and strategies that help you deliver a successful project. As a minority-owned firm, we are committed to building a diverse platform of curious and driven design professionals so we can together pursue our full potential. For more information, please visit us at www.osastudio.com.
Tell me about your life outside, your work.
Outside of work?
Yeah.
Man, I have the best life. I mean, I got the greatest wife. My wife, Lauren. I got a baby girl that just turned 2 on July 4th, Sloan. And I got a 6-year-old little boy named Frankie. So,
Nice.
I mean, and it's so funny because my wife found an old journal of mine and she showed it to me. She sent me a picture in text the other day, and it was me writing what my vision plan was. And this was 2011, I think I wrote this. And it was to the detail of what my house looked like, where I was sitting, what I was wearing, how many kids I had, how much money I made. And Jack, if I tell you, if it wasn't off by a couple of dollars, and it was a stretch number.
Yeah.
What the house looked like, the color of the house. I mean, now it might be self-fulfilling prophecy,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wrote down what I wanted, and now I'm living it. So
Yep.
when I say I'm really lucky,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's just amazing that when you put your mind to something, it comes together.
That's one of those things that somebody may hear you saying that and they're like, oh, that's crazy. That doesn't make sense. The only way to understand it is when you experience it.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same. I write things down. I think about the future. Like one of the things I do I also journal, and I journal in the morning. And some of the things I do first thing in the morning, right? My company as a studio, I said, is a multi-million-dollar international design firm.
Yeah.
And right now it's a small company doing some small projects here. But I really see that on paper.
Yeah.
And I write it every single day. And I think part of that is your brain starts to believe it at a point that you start behaving like a person who gets those things.
Mm-hmm.
And you make decisions in order to get them so they become reality. And I don't know how to explain it. It's magical. Because how come something you write down becomes reality? And it doesn't mean that if you do it, it works. It's when you believe in it.
100%.
I think the belief part is the key aspect of that.
My friend and my life coach, Scott Schmerin, he's been on the Howard Stern show, and he's been a coach of mine for 6 years now, and he's a hypnotist. And I think he relates it the best way. He goes, when you learn to drive and you're behind the steering wheel and you're 10 and 2 and you're checking your mirrors, you're very conscious and intentional about hitting the gas pedal or hitting the brake. But now when you drive, do you even think about it?
Never.
So he really believes that you could program your subconscious mind. And so many other people in history of. Napoleon Hill wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
Which talks about all the richest people in history. He interviewed them, and they all had the same thing. They journaled and wrote down where they saw themselves. In Scott Schmerin's book, he talks about it. And I really just believe your subconscious mind is continuously working even when you're sleeping.
Yeah.
It keeps you breathing. It keeps your heart beating. So you can program your subconscious mind to believe anything you want. And I think it's through consistency and vision. And what you're doing with your journaling, there's no doubt in my mind you'll be a multi-million-dollar global firm. I just really, I really feel that way.
And it's interesting because when you start doing it, you don't believe it. I'm like, okay, I know that what I'm writing, I don't really believe it in my heart. But the more you do it, it's like your brain starts like, okay, well, yeah. And I write things that I want to change about myself, right? If I'm not happy about certain aspect of, my personality or things that I want to improve in my life, I don't care how radical they are. I start writing it and writing it and writing it.
Give me an example.
Yeah. For example, when I started my business, I believe, I don't know if I believe it anymore, but I used to say that I'm an introvert, right? I always tend to be more on my own, in my head. I'm in bigger crowds. I'm not talking a lot. But now that when I started my business, I'm like, okay, I need to connect with people. That's the only way to sell, authentic relationships. And at the beginning was uncomfortable for me. And I started writing, I'm an extrovert. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy learning about people. I enjoy connecting with people. So when I started writing that, it was not real.
Yeah.
Now it's very real. I feel like that.
Yeah.
Things that being very disciplined with, my health, exercising very regularly, eating better. I used to be very frustrated and like, oh my God, I don't feel good about my body. I want to do it, but I don't do it. And I started writing, I'm very healthy. I make good choices. I'm this person. And I would say it takes maybe 2 years for me to take hold. But now I feel at the point that I feel very comfortable making good decisions. Like, man, I don't feel like exercising, but I need to.
Yeah.
I really want to eat these French fries, but I don't want to eat them.
They're so good, though.
And yeah. But the key point where I feel that I'm gaining traction is when I don't need to make an effort.
Yeah.
I don't feel that I'm giving up. I don't feel anything. It's like, okay. Like you build the muscle.
Yeah.
So you can do it.
Well, it's like anything, right? If you want to run a marathon, the first day you go running, you can't run, 10 miles.
Mm-hmm.
You run that first mile, you run a half mile.
Yeah.
And then you build on it. But I think the hardest part is consistency.
Yeah.
And that's what I find that in salespeople. I find that in people in weight loss programs. Well, they say 4% of people that start a diet actually lose weight or keep it off.
Sure.
4%.
Yeah.
That's insane. So it also shows how much money there's made to be made out there in the
Oh,
diet
sure.
industry.
Those are the biggest industries are diet, exercise equipment, gyms.
Oh, yeah.
And guess what? To achieve that goal, you only need to do two things: exercise more and eat better.
Yeah.
And you don't need to spend $1 to do those things.
But people want the magic pill. They want the snake oil.
The shortcut.
Yeah. Just give me the magic pill I could take at lunchtime and make it go away.
Yeah. So tell me more about your whole, internal universe. Yeah. You talk about journaling, being very self-conscious about that. What other things do you do that are focusing on yourself, on your growth, on your mind, on your health?
Well, I mean, last year I think was a challenge for everybody with the pandemic, and it was a special challenge for me because I lost my best friend. My buddy Dan Avital died of a heart attack in May of last year. Not directly COVID related, but COVID related because his operation would have happened without COVID.
Yeah.
And so he'd been still here. That, and then Bill, who I've referenced many times today, getting cancer and had a 7-month diagnosis to live. So all my friends around me are starting to get sick.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm living this full out life. I'm making good money. I'm winning awards at work, winning awards all over the place. But I'm working day and night. I'm out with clients, and I'm looking at my health, and my blood pressure's through the roof, and I'm like, well, I got 2 kids now. What am I doing?
Yeah.
So I got with Bill, and Bill had survived cancer. He's still with us after 4 years later after they told him he was going to die. And we really sat down, and what we're really passionate about is helping successful people find that balance.
Yeah.
Find that work-life balance, and find out that actually, you talk about diet is how the things we do to our body can translate to how we work, to how we love, to how we be a parent. I mean, and it all trickles down. And when you start really diving down into that on how you can help people do better, and it's so simple, but how do you do it so people can stay consistent with it? So that's my passion right now, is trying to develop a program like that.
Yeah, well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Because I think you get to a point in your life where, you start editing your life, and things that were fun before, you're like, okay, that's irrelevant. And then as you get older, you focus on the really important things, right?
Yeah.
Helping others, your health, your family, usually 2 or 3 things that define your experience of life.
Yeah.
And the experience of the people that you care about.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll give you a prime example. This has nothing to do with work, but my buddy Mike and his wife Kim were trying to have a baby, and she had fibroids in her uterus, right? So they were going to get the operation to get them out, and the doctor's like, "These are so bad, I don't see you ever being able to have children." So my buddy Mike called me. He goes, "Wait a minute, if Bill was able to survive cancer using holistic methods and using different things, why not give it a try?" Right? So
Sure.
we sat down with Bill, and we went through our program, and we're talking about diet and everything, and he went all in. They went all in. 3 weeks later, she goes back for a follow-up checkup after the operation, comes out crying. My buddy Mike's like, "Nothing, we're not getting any better." She's like, "No, just the opposite. Doctor said he hasn't seen a body recover like this ever. My fibroids are down," and she said, "We got to do one more operation," but she said we could start trying to have children again. So that gives me goosebumps just saying it, because that's what what drives me. It's seeing things like that, seeing things, how you can help people and help them see what things maybe that are right in front of their eyes, but they can't see.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Wow, that's amazing. I think one of the topics I see continuing in your life is always, one is self-awareness. Always think about yourself, how you think about yourself, editing, getting better. And then once you become a better person, a better version of yourself, then how do you reflect that to others?
Yeah. How do you give back?
Yeah. And I think that self-awareness is something that is not taught. Nobody talks about it too much. And I think we should talk about that all the time in school to children. How do you think about your own experience of life and how do you make it better. Because sometimes we start growing, we are children, we learn from others, we pick up things here and there, and sometimes we fill our head with a lot of trash. And we don't realize because we just don't have the judgment or the experience to understand what is it that we're consuming. And we think that trash is maybe who we are, of part of our life. Yeah. And there is a point when you realize, now I can reinvent myself. I can remove a lot of things. I can achieve other things that I want to go to and are available, and I can go grab them.
But think about how tough it is for children now, like compared to when we were younger. Think about the worst thing that ever happened to you. Like, I remember a bunch of kids jumped me in a bathroom and beat me up when I was in like 8th grade. All right. So imagine nowadays that would have been on film, and then people would have been posting that. And how hard that is to come back from. It was hard for me to come back from that, knowing that either I got to get tougher, I'm going to be beat up every day, but to be it posted everywhere. At least I was able to lie and say, I got a couple good licks in. No, I didn't. I got my ass kicked.
Yeah.
But now, so I totally agree with you that self-awareness, to be able to teach our kids that they are able to create their self-identity, and it's not from social media or not what their friends are posting. But it's so hard when you're going through puberty and all that change.
It's really hard because
right?
you just don't have the tools to understand the context.
Yeah.
And you think those things are very important. Sometimes you think that because you're thinking that, then that's who you are.
Yeah.
That's not you. One of the definitions I like about self-awareness is that self-awareness is your ability to monitor your internal self in real time. So you can make decisions different than the ones you will make in automatic self. Because sometimes, so for example, if I don't want to eat those French fries and I'm like, oh my God, I want to eat them. But I stop myself and say, I know you want to, but stop. It's like separating yourself into two persons and realizing that, like giving advice to yourself, and at that moment you transform yourself. I had a moment in time, was probably 2 years ago, where I felt that I experienced self-awareness, and it was a morning in my house where I was gonna take my kids to school that I used to take every day. So we had a 2-car garage, and one car was in the garage, one car was outside. So I got with my kids in the car that was in the garage in the morning, and I just backed up. And I didn't realize, and I hit the other car, my wife's car, and, broke the tail light. And it's like, oh my God, how dumb. Well, move the car because we still need to go to school. So we're driving to school, which is probably like 10 minutes away. And during the drive, I started to say, having that self-talk. And I started saying to myself, like, man, how dumb. Like, why would you do that? Now you're going to spend like $1,500 to fix those cars. And I realized I was treating myself horribly.
Yeah.
Horribly. And I was thinking, if somebody does this, if my wife, if this happened to my wife, I would say, don't worry about it. We pay for it. It's not a big deal. If a friend of mine does it, man, that's okay. Don't worry. We'll fix it. It's not a big deal. It's not that I don't have the money.
Yeah.
But when it came to treating myself, I was the worst person. Mm-hmm. To treat myself in a very horrible way. And that morning, in that drive, it was huge for me because I was able to say, no, you don't treat yourself that way. Mm-hmm. You need to be gentle and have compassion. It was not your fault. It was a silly mistake. You can pay for it. Treat yourself with compassion. And that was a big deal because during those 10 minutes, I was able to transform myself to somebody who was making me feel bad to somebody who was comforting myself.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's what I run into is like, it's a tug of war with me. It's like, this, self-deprivation or, self-loathing, let's put it that way, mm-hmm. is, I always feel like I could always do something better. And I think that's what drove me in. And actually we do this thing called a mind scan. It's a psychological test.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things is like how you see yourself and how your self-worth. It's one of the categories. And most of our top salespeople have very low self-worth. They always think they can do better. And those are our top performers.
Yeah.
So that's why I pose this question back to you. So if you didn't beat yourself up so bad for so many years, do you think you'd be as successful as you are right now if you would have been just as forgiving to yourself for failing?
Probably not.
And isn't that sad? Though,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
So you almost, and I don't know if the answer is yes or no.
Yeah.
I know in my case, if I would have been very forgiving and said, all right, it's all right to fail that. Oh, all right, we'll just move on to the next thing.
Sure.
I wouldn't be in the position I'm at because I had to fail and I had to shake myself off and have a little self-doubt and then go, all right, what did I do wrong? Because every time I lose, I always look at what I did, not what my team did, not what did I do wrong? And that's how I become better. But that's kind of bad on your mental health a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you got to walk that balance or that tightrope, right?
Yeah. So to go one step deeper,
Yeah.
And that's another of the realizations I came through, with my journaling and thinking is that I think that way because when I started, well, let me go around other topics to get context. My dad, he's an amazing person, always provided for my family. I never saw my dad buying one thing for himself. Zero. He will buy everything for my mom and my brothers and myself. He will give us anything. He never bought shoes or a watch. Nothing. He never like cars. Nothing. He was like, that's all for you. I don't know why, but that's one of the things that I'm connecting to what I'm thinking today. So one of the things I thought about when I was thinking about the situation with the car is that sometimes I feel that I don't deserve things. Right?
Yeah.
So when I'm gonna buy something that I really like, that my wife is like, we have the money, just go buy it.
Yeah.
I feel that I need a justification to buy something for myself. Like I came to the realization to think that maybe I feel that I don't deserve things. I don't know why to this point, but that's one of the things I write in my journal every day. I said, I'm deserving I deserve extraordinary success. I deserve all these things. And I don't know if it's important to understand why or not, but I think a lot of things come from thinking that I don't deserve, abundance of things.
Yeah. Well, it comes from background. I had the same conversation with my dad. Like, my dad had a pair of white and blue Brooks tennis shoes that I can remember from the time I was 6 years old to the time I graduated high school. And my dad had those same shoes. They were cleaned and they looked as brand new.
Yeah.
But I was like, Dad always has these same shoes. But it wasn't until I was in college and I was paying my own bills and stuff. And I was like, wait a minute, Dad was doing that because he had 3 kids and he was supporting, and my mom didn't work.
Yeah.
And my dad worked in a blast furnace. So it was like, and I never put that all together until my eyes just opened. And I was like, holy crap, Dad just sacrificed everything for us.
Yeah.
And I think, right? You go through that realization, you're like, holy crap, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes you the man you are sometimes when you see who your dad is, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Tell me about what are other things you do in your, day-to-day life, eating well, getting with Bill on your new program.
Yeah.
And I'm asking you because I'm thinking about somebody maybe listening to the podcast and they're like, man, I really want to get I would like to do what he's doing. How do I grow? Show me the way.
I really started making some time for myself. I really think the phone is the biggest cause of hypertension and anxiety. It's an addiction that is just pure as smoking cigarettes or any other drug out there. Think about how many times you look at your phone. Count them one time. Because when I first started doing this, leaving my phone downstairs in my office at a certain time. and programming it to turn off at certain times so that I can't look at it. I counted one day when I was sitting watching TV, I reached for my phone 20 times in 1 hour.
Wow.
Just to either check Google or check something or saw something on TV or see how much it was. And I was like, 20 times. All right. So that's a nervous tick, you know, and that causes anxiety. So my biggest thing right now is trying to find things that don't involve the phone. I used to hate golf, and I started playing golf. I moved in a new neighborhood, and I got some really cool neighbors, and I'm really enjoying it. And I don't look at my phone when I'm out there. That's 4 hours of phone-free conversation with somebody. You know, how many times you talking to somebody, they're looking at their phone?
Oh, man, I'm guilty of that.
Drives me insane.
I know.
This is a moment that this person is taking their moment to spend time with me, and I'm not giving them my full attention. So, and I'm as guilty as anybody. So I'm talking from a soapbox, right? But I'm trying to become better at it.
That's awesome. That's an easy one. You know, there is a love-hate relationship I have with technology because I love technology. You know, it just makes our life easier. You know, we have access to so much information, but at the same time, it's taking away our attention, our time with people we love. You know, the addiction to the phone, I'm for sure guilty of that. And it's so easy that we don't realize that it's there.
Yeah, we're Pavlov's dog.
Yeah.
The bell rings and we start salivating.
Yeah.
The bell goes off, you got to check that text message.
Yeah.
Or if you respond back to one, all you're doing is waiting for that response back instead of just having a conversation with somebody where you get instant gratification.
Oh, sure.
So it's, but it's easy to get into that wormhole, and it's hard to come out of. So I'm really trying to balance that and be more present for my kids. Like when I'm with my daughter, the phone isn't in my hand because I don't want her being that way.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that also translates immediately to business settings. You know, how many meetings we go to when people have their laptop or their phone and you know they're not paying attention, and how do you feel?
It's awful, right?
It's horrible.
And that's why I tell people some of the older strategies to get in front of clients are working better now. Snail mail. How many pieces of mail do you get anymore? Mm-hmm. Very few. So sending a letter is actually really cool now.
Oh, yeah.
Picking up the phone and calling somebody. Like, I get so many customers going, thank you for just calling. You saved me so much time, because we would have had an email chain of 14 emails. And in 2 minutes, we got to the bottom of it.
Oh, I know.
Right? Yeah. And it's just those little things. You know, I have a rule with my team. If I have to scroll twice, I'm not going to read it.
Yeah.
Call me. You know, it's silly waste of time things that just, lose productivity.
Yeah. Going back to your role today, what would you say is one of the biggest challenge your clients are facing today?
The biggest for us and all my clients is gaining and retaining talent. The talent pool from factory workers, you know, the stimulus checks messed us up. We got factory workers that don't want to come back to work because they're making more money sitting on the couch. So that's going to fade off, and we'll see that starting to come back. But, right down the road here, you see McDonald's paying $20 an hour with a $1,000 bonus if you stay for 3 months.
Wow.
That's absurd. You stay for 3 month commitment. So that, and then on the hire, you know, on the tech side and the sales side is finding talent that's, one, going to be loyal, and two, that's going to do their job.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if look, your A players are always going to be your A players. It's your B and C players that you got to manage the best. And those are the ones that, from this work at home and this flexible work standard, that I think I've seen a lot of companies try it, and I see a lot of companies pull their people back in because the productivity goes down.
Yeah.
I know a few companies that have done it, and they're like, Morgan Stanley just came out and said, if we're going to pay you New York wages, you're going to live in New York and come to this office.
Yeah.
They were in the Wall Street Journal saying that.
Yeah.
So,
Frank, tell me about your role with CoreNet. You know, that's an organization I joined recently, and I know you have been very involved. You know, there are many different positions that you've been playing in there.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, and, you know, why are you doing it? Why are you passionate about that?
CoreNet's my family. The people that mean, Trip Ewan got me into it in 2006 when we had between 40 and 80 members. I can't remember the exact number, but we were giving away free alcohol to get people in the door. I mean, and Coronet is a corporate real estate networking group. It's for senior executives in corporate real estate, both on the broker and service provider sides.
Yeah.
It's a global organization, and we are the Carolinas chapter here. And I've been lucky enough to work with a team of probably the best board I've ever served on, and I've served on a few nonprofit boards, and I've served on this, and from Tony Perez to Hunter Fleshhood to Trip Ewan, Chris Lapata, some of those people that are around the foundation that made it the most fun to build together.
Yeah.
So we went from that 40 people to we're at 400. We won Chapter of the Year for the Globe when I was president 2 years ago. And it's the best way to get to know people. And some of the end users said it best. They told me, they were like, look, one of the senior directors at Charter was a good friend of mine. And he told me, I go, why do you like Coronet so much? He goes, I'll be honest with you. I travel all over the country, but when I need a roof repaired, I need to know who to call.
Yeah.
And I meet those people at Coronet when I'm either out and about. And he goes, it gives me a resource. And he goes, and people at Coronet are very respectful. They're not selling when you go out to the organization or the networking meetings. They're getting to know you as a human being. And,
Sure.
And I think that's why we're the premier organization in Charlotte.
Yeah.
For real estate.
Yeah. I did my homework researching networking groups because there are plenty.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You
There are a lot.
name a topic, you'll find one.
and I have limited time, and I said, well, I'm gonna commit to one, and I just went to everyone. I knew you were part of Coronet. I knew other people, and all the people that I see them being successful and that I like to be around and that are fun for some reason, they're all gravitate toward Coronet.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, man, I'm gonna commit to that. And I've been a member for very few months, but it's been great. I've been engaging with other people. It's been fun. I feel very happy. Engaged when everybody's excited to see new members.
Yeah.
There are a lot of opportunities, so I'm really excited to join that community.
Yeah, and let us know how we could get you more active, because it's you get out of Coronet what you put in.
Sure.
The more part of committees you are, I've been on the board this is the first year I'm not on the board in 12 years. So, but I'm still running the networking committee.
Mm-hmm.
I love to throw parties.
Yeah.
If anybody knows me, they know that about me. So it is what you get out of it or what you put into it. So, let us know how we can help you get
Sure,
more
man.
engaged.
Is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to talk about?
No, we talked about healthy living. We talked about career paths. And we talked about the biggest challenges. I mean, the biggest challenges, we talked about gaining and retaining talent, but also bringing in the topic we talked about right before that is how an employer can do that work-life balance from an internal setting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're in design. Where do you
Mm-hmm.
think the biggest challenge in designing new spaces coming after the pandemic?
Well, it's designing spaces for people that people like, that people love. I think the mindset before the pandemic has been, let's design this thing. People come because they have to work. They have to come here to get their paycheck. Now that we realize, you can work from home. Yeah, you can do these things. There could be flexibility. I think the office space is humanizing itself.
Yeah.
I think office by default has been very machine-like, same parts and pieces, not a lot of soul. Now we need to make this very attractive because we need to attract the best talent. And in order to do that, we need to give them an environment that they really want to be in, that they feel appreciated, that they feel comfortable, that they feel fulfilled. Because at the end of the day, you want that talent, performing at their best.
Yeah.
Whatever they need to do that, just give it to them.
Yeah, and make it, and we talked about diversity and inclusion, and how do you make that receptive to everyone?
Mm-hmm.
That everybody feels like they have a chance at every position.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most challenging thing out there is how do you do that? Because I don't think it fits every company has different culture.
Sure.
So how do you find the right one for you? And that's the most exciting part about being part of our EDI program at Tarkett is I'm learning.
Yeah.
I'm not going in there with all the answers. I'm the guy in the corner going, all right, I'm the white guy in the corner. I want to learn.
Sure.
Tell me what the challenges are.
Yeah. And, to me, it's very interesting because I'm at the other side of the conversation. I'm an immigrant. I wasn't born here. I didn't go to school here. I don't have family. There are a lot of things that are very new to me that I don't know. Today, I'm a U.S. citizen. I went through, everything you have to go through to be here. And now this is my community. This is my country. This is my people. And there are some gaps that I feel and that I see. Especially in the business world, many things that I just don't know, many connections that I just don't have because I didn't have the time to make them, and the opportunity to have people to bridge that gap. To me, that's where the real power comes, where there's a willingness to say, I understand there is a gap. I meet you here and I meet you halfway, and we all benefit from that.
Yeah. And and just making that close that loop completely is you got make everybody feel included, but then keep everybody healthy enough so they'll stick around.
Yeah.
So it's really challenging. I give anybody that's managing or running an entire company on their own, like yourself, to hire the right people, to go out and sell the product, to make the product, and then to keep everybody healthy where they stay with you and they don't go out and compete against you.
Yeah.
I mean, you try to put all that into your head and try to make sense of it. It's a puzzle.
Oh, yeah.
And it changes every day.
That's right. Yeah. And I think it could easily be very, very, very stressful. But I think that's where the power of self-awareness and your mindset turns that around and becomes a fun challenge.
Yeah.
To do it every day.
Yeah.
Nice.
I agree.
Well, Frank, thank you so much for your time.
Okay.
I really appreciate you, you taking the time to talk to me, to be so open and share everything about yourself. I really value and admire who you are, and I look forward to stay in touch.
Oh, I look forward to it too, Jack. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, man. Thank you for listening to the Power of Design podcast. Remember to rate and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Find out more about Jack and Osa Studio at osastudio.com and follow us on Instagram at The Power of Design Podcast. Thank you.